Grassroots is brought to you by WorkIT, meeting the needs of entrepreneurs in Stillwater since 2017. Howdy, everyone. Thank you for listening to Grassroots, a podcast about civic engagement. I'm Chris Peters.
And I'm Michelle Charles.
And today we have Stillwater Fire Chief, Terry Essary.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
And Chief Civic,
Innovation,
Chief
it.
Civic Innovation Officer.
You had all the words, and I think that's enough. Yes.
But what's the correct order?
I got on the business card. It's Chief Civic Innovation Officer.
Becky Taylor.
There you
She
go.
is also a chief.
That's a good, yeah. So you have two chiefs here at the table. One
Yes.
that
I just
deals with
realized that.
fires.
Chief
Yeah.
Becky.
Michelle, I think you should be upgraded to Chief City Editor.
There you go. I would feel so much better about that.
I mean,
So
you do
Becky,
the work of one.
Your job title is kind of like playing Wordle. It's like,
Oh.
okay, we have all the words. We just don't
Yeah.
have them in the right order.
You know, that Wordle, that's quite, I like that game. It's
a
good
lot of
one.
people are very
Yeah.
I
addicted
have
to
still
it.
resisted.
Bo's way into it. He's over his head on it.
He likes
Yeah,
words.
but it's
Yeah.
just one a day, which is what I appreciate about it. Like, we're not going to dive too in.
Oh, you can't get too
I have
addicted.
no
Yeah.
idea what you're talking about.
I'll help.
Okay.
help.
She's going to get you hooked up.
All right. Okay.
And your life will never be the same.
I am excited.
So today we are going to discuss the upcoming bond vote, April 5th. And the only thing on that bond vote is a new fire station.
That's right. I mean, that's the only thing on the ballot. So when you show up to vote on April 5th, or if you show up early on the Thursday or Friday prior, the question will be one question, and it'll be about a fire station.
Do we have the copy of what's exactly going to be on the ballot?
Yes, I didn't. The sample ballots are available. I do not have that, but I have the question if you'd like to look at it.
Awesome.
All right.
Oh, this is long.
Now, I
Yeah,
saw
it
a
is.
graphic
They
that
always
seemed,
are.
I saw a graphic that seemed to be expressing something in like a value of so many frappuccinos.
That's right. Yes. Do you want me to talk through that? Because it's pretty interesting, I think.
Well, yeah, we can get to that in a minute. Let's talk for a second about there were originally, like under the list of time projects, you had two potential bond issue projects
We did.
that were discussed. Why did you guys decide to separate those? What was part of that?
There was a lot of discussion just with what would be the most successful and how the questions were on which ballot and when. Ultimately, that was a council decision. So us as staff, and we just brought all of the information. We spent the fall discussing with the community about what they thought priorities were, and if these three questions, transportation tax being one of them, were presented, how would they feel about it? And based on those results, council just thought it would be best to focus on the transportation tax in February, and then the fire bond in April, and then postpone the animal welfare for we're not sure when, but hopefully soon, because that's definitely a need that we have.
Okay.
But we just haven't been as successful with bonds. I mean, our most recent one is 1999. So we wanted to really do this one well and make sure that we were successful.
Okay, gotcha. And I will say that in 2013, when we had the package of bond issues that were not approved, the public safety bond that contained the fire station came the closest to passing. So I would say that there probably is more support for a necessity that will last and that, provides a vital service.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the bond, we're asking for a $9 million bond.
Yes.
Can you explain how that impacts the community financially?
Yeah,
Like how it gets
definitely.
paid for? 'Cause
So-
I know this whole year I'm just learning what bonds actually are.
Yeah, and I've done a
Right.
lot of learning these last 18 months as well, Chris. So bonds are paid through ad valorem tax or property taxes. So if you own property within city limits, you will be impacted on your property taxes if this bond passes. So one interesting fact about Oklahoma is that we are the only state in the country that does not allow ad valorem taxes or property taxes to fund our general fund, which is why we rely on sales tax and shop local and so heavily, because our sales tax is what funds our general fund. And so when municipalities in Oklahoma are looking at doing these larger core infrastructure or capital projects, a general obligation bond is really one of our best avenues to do that. And our past fire stations were all funded through GO bonds. And so we know that this is the best way to fund it. So if this passes, if a $9 million bond passes, and let's say you own a property within city limits that's valued at about $200,000, which is the median value of houses within city limits, you would see an increase of $32, or approximately $32.90 a year, which
Okay.
is about 6 coffees from your favorite coffee shop.
All right.
So not even a coffee a month. And
Unless you make your
you've
own
paid-
coffee at home, then that's hundreds of coffees.
Yeah, that's a lot. No,
well,
you're
then
right.
that would be then that would probably be a month's worth of coffee for me. Yeah.
There you go. So it's not, and if we look even at, let's say, a $450,000 house, at $75 a year that you'd see an increase on your property tax. So really a minimal increase for something that impacts our community so heavily. When all these dollars can help us fund a new fire station, something that we need desperately for our community public safety, it seems like it's a
And
no-brainer.
So let me get this right. The property taxes basically paid within city limits, but the fire station or the fire department, serves much more than just within city limits.
We do. We serve all of Payne County and parts of the surrounding counties as well.
Since you've been at the fire station, what's the furthest call you think you guys have had to go out to?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Most of them are pretty local. They are local.
You ever go to have to go all the way out to Guthrie or
We have not so far.
Okay.
We of course if they call us, we'll send crews if we can do that. And of course we would, if we need help, we'll be asking them just as they would ask us, because if we have a large fire, it takes a lot of resources. And even Oklahoma City and Tulsa, with all their firefighters, they still struggle with some of the things they deal with. So it's not a problem that we in Stillwater have to deal with. Only we all departments have to deal with that. Just to kind of add into what Becky was talking about with the bonds, other cities, Oklahoma City, Broken Arrow, Midwest City, Mustang, have all built fire stations using the GO bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Moore and Norman, they did not use GO bonds, but they used a 50-cent public safety sales tax. So it's one of the two. I've had some people ask me, well, why can't you just purchase that out of the general fund? And the truth is, there's just not enough revenue to do that because it's such a large project. And as Becky said, this is hopefully we'll get this thing done, and it's a 50-year, 60-year investment for the city, possibly longer.
So, and I would say that you guys, y'all respond almost out to I-35.
We do all the way to
I-35.
yes,
So they go, in some, on the eastern side of the county, there are some volunteer fire departments that kick in and cover certain areas. But on the west side, there's not really anything. There aren't any incorporated areas until you get Mulhall, Orlando on the other side of the highway.
Correct.
Oh, how fast?
So that's a big area.
If you're going out Highway 51, heading out to I-35, how fast can those fire trucks go?
Oh,
they
good
go about the
question.
speed limit. Yeah, they maybe a few miles per hour over, but they're so heavy. The problem is, if we had to stop quickly, it's not possible. So safety is always the first priority for our firefighters and for the people on the roadway too. The last thing we want to do is try to go too fast and then cause another emergency on the way while we're trying to help someone else, where we actually end up needing the help. So we do everything we can to avoid that. But so they don't go very fast. They're not designed to. They're heavy, but they'll still hit the speed limit plus a few more.
There we go. So, and that is one of the reasons for wanting to relocate the fire station from number 2, is because that response time.
It is. And one of the great things about the location of the current station is Also, one of the negative things about the current station, because that is such a densely populated area with people and traffic, it's very, very difficult to get in and out of. There's no stoplight there, so they have to actually shut down the street to back their apparatus up into the bay, which causes safety issues for pedestrians and just people traveling through there, not to mention our firefighters. And so that's just one of the issues with where it's at. It's a plus and it's very much a minus. And with the new location that we're looking at, which is about halfway between Lakeview and McElroy on Western Road, right there by the ropes course. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I was going to ask you the precise, because I travel up and down that, and I'm like, well, that is the flood area down there. That can't be like north.
Yeah,
of,
we're north of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, apparently, that's a hot spot for watching the sunset.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a very
good location. So we're going to put a fire station pretty much right where a lot of folks are parking, watching the sunset. We're not going to block their view. They're still welcome to do that afterwards. They'll just have a fire station close by when they're doing that, so they can even feel safer. But
Okay, so I have a question, Terry.
Yep.
Okay, so about the new location. Again, this will be on OSU land, though.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so part of the reason that the fire station is moving is because the building is owned by OSU, and the lease will be expiring relatively shortly. And in terms of when we're talking about big old multi-year leases for public buildings. So, I mean, how did you pick the location? Is OSU just saying this is where we feel like we have land available? How did you guys make the decision about where this station needed to be sited?
Well, I think it's twofold. One is the location makes sense for response times.
It does.
So if you want to speak to that.
Okay.
Terry.
Yeah, I mean, you know the running districts and
Yes,
everything
yes.
better
So
than anybody.
our fire stations, ideally, they need to be about 3 miles apart. So, so for an engine, we want all the calls to be about 1.5 miles from the fire station. If it's a ladder company, about 2.5 miles. And so we build our response districts based on travel time, which as soon as our wheels start rolling out of the fire station, our goal is to be at the emergency within 4 minutes. And that's the national standard. And right now, the way that Fire Station 1, 2, and 3 are located, where they sit, there's a lot of overlapping distance. There's, and I'm trying to explain it to where it makes sense. Really, the best way to show you a map and just
Right.
because then really the picture is worth 1,000,000 words.
Sure. So basically, the city's divided into running districts,
Absolutely.
and each fire station has what your firefighters would call a running district.
Yes.
That they are responsible for
Yes.
covering, like a territory.
Correct.
And you're saying there's some overlap in a couple of those.
There's a
because
lot of
the-
overlap. So
Okay.
if we move that station, when we move that station to the north and to the west, it reduces a lot of the inefficiencies in the run districts, and it really cleans up the 4-minute response times.
Okay. Now, and I understand that Station 2, I mean, does it also serve the east side of town still?
It does.
So how's that going to impact call response on the east side of town?
So it will not. It'll remain the same.
Okay.
Because the eastern boundaries of Station 2 and Station 3, they're still going to cover what they cover now. So there is no negative impact. Now, obviously, Station 2 is going to be further away from from the eastern side of town, but they're still going to be relatively quick to get there because Stillwater's not. We're not Phoenix. We're not Dallas. We can still get to places fairly quickly, efficiently.
Okay.
And of course, we know that there's a need for another fire station in the future on the east side of town, and that will be.
I've heard talk about that.
That will be in the works, but right now our priority is we've got to get a new facility for our firefighters. And that's why we're looking at this facility now. But we do realize there's a big need for one on the east side of town as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
this-
So
and
in the
this-
future, maybe.
And this
Yes.
facility will be one of our largest fire stations, so that we're building for the growth that's happening on the west side of town, but also training facility and meeting space and all the other what we need in a fire station.
Yeah,
Okay.
just as we spoke to earlier, it's a 50-year investment. And the city's going to grow. There's no question. And when the city grows, we're going to have to add more personnel. And so we want to build a facility where it can grow with us. And so we're definitely looking to the future, because as we go into we know with land prices and with construction prices, things are continually increasing. And so we need to look for the future now, because it makes financial sense as well as operational sense.
Okay.
So this fire station Is this going to be the first one that's going to be located on a 4-lane road that pulls out into a 4-lane road?
That is right. Yes.
Okay. So that's a 45-mile-per-hour road.
Mm-hmm.
Let's add 5 miles per hour to that for the average travel speed.
Okay.
Will there be signals or anything that come out to help stop traffic? Because I drive that a lot, and that's a mini highway out there.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna, that's a good question, and I'm not sure at this point.
So that's not included in
it's
the
not,
purchase
it's
or
not
any
included
of
at
this building
at this time.
Okay.
Once we get there and we see there's need for that, then we'll make that adjustment. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the station is going to be built to where the apparatus will not have to back up into the station. They'll be able to pull through.
They'll be able to just
which
okay.
just it's just safer and more efficient, and you don't have to block traffic, which makes citizens much happier.
Yeah.
Sure.
So currently that's what they have to do to get into Fire Station 2, but the new fire station will just be able to pull around through the back, so there's not going to be any traffic issues there. So
Okay.
And how many personnel does it take to back a truck into Station 2? It's like at least a 3-person operation,
at least
right?
3, yeah. So you got one person driving the truck and one person on the front, one person on the back, and that's minimal.
Yeah.
And then you still, if you have pedestrians or people on bikes, they don't want to stop because they think they can beat the truck. So they'll still cut behind the vehicle. So you almost need another person just running foot traffic. And of course, a lot of times we don't have those people available. So
Okay.
that's always an issue and a concern.
Okay, so what all will be included in the new station? How will it be different than the old? Well, how will it be different, I guess?
There's going to be a lot of differences. And, of course, the other station was built in 1938 and 39. And at the time, it was probably cutting edge, and it was probably leading the country in facilities, but things have changed. So one of the biggest things that we're going to incorporate in the new station is there's going to be, it's called hot, cold, and warm zones. Essentially,
Okay.
So when the firefighters come back from a call, they bring back a lot of contaminants with them because smoke is a lot of carcinogens and smoke, and it's messy, and it's very, very unhealthy. So they'll be able to come back and decontaminate themselves and their gear before they go into the living area, whereas currently that's not even an option. There's really no decontamination area in the current station. And so they'll be able to isolate those contaminants. So when they are in their living space, they don't have to worry about being exposed to those things further. And with our gear, there's going to be a lot of different things, but one of them, again, we're really building this with safety as priority. And our gear in and of itself, even though we do clean it, we have commercial extractors which take all the carcinogens out, and we have one of those at each station. But there's still things left in that gear that's still off-gas chemicals and byproducts of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And the new station is going to have an area where that gear rests, the clean gear rests, and all the air from that will be filtered out the building. So it never is reintroduced into the station, so the firefighters don't have to continually breathe that. Not to mention, the gear itself is, one set of gear for all of our firefighters is about $250,000. And it's not something that it's not optional. We have to have it, right?
Yeah.
But as expensive as it is, and as mandatory as it is, it's fragile. Believe it or not, sunlight degrades it. Mm-hmm. It only has a life of about 7 years anyway.
Okay.
And the more it's exposed to UV rays, the faster
and you're
it
talking
breaks down.
the jackets, the gear they're
bunker
wearing.
Gear, the stuff they wear into the structure fires or fighting car fires.
Now, you guys like to have a bunch of names like apparatus and stuff. What do you? There's got to be some fire name for this gear.
It's bunker gear.
It's bunker gear.
Bunker
Okay.
gear. Yes, turnout gear, bunker gear. But sunlight degrades it, and it actually decreases the life of the bunker gear, which makes it much less. It's not as safe for our firefighters, and it's a big cost to our city.
So basically, you're going to have a room that's sealed up to prevent people being exposed to the off-gassing.
Yes.
And then it's going to be ventilated.
Correct.
Okay.
And the sunshine will not be able to get to the gear, so it's protected.
So
the gear's
All right.
protected,
Lasts a
and
little
our
bit longer.
firefighters are protected from the gear.
Okay. And then how will the living quarters and things be different? Or what other facilities will you have there besides the living
currently,
quarters?
okay, it's just kind of in contrast to what we have now. Fire Station 2 has one shower.
Ah.
Yes, so you can already see where I'm going with this. We're a diverse community, and our fire department tries to mirror that. So we have female firefighters.
We have what now? 4 female firefighters?
We have 3.
3.
We
okay.
have 3. And right now, Station 2 is not built for that.
Right.
And which it is a huge problem.
Sure.
It's our busiest station in town, and it's problematic to keep our female firefighters there, even though that we should have them there. So we're going to correct that issue. They're going to have separate facilities where they can have the correct privacy. And it's just, with the new facility, everything's just going to be, it's going to be new, it's going to be clean, it's going to be comfortable. Fire Station 2 currently, we're giving tours. Well, we'll give you a tour anytime you want one, but we actually have tours set up until voting time. I think our next tour is next week, but we'll talk about that before we leave. There is no insulation in that building. I mean, it's very, very hard to heat and cool. So that's from a comfort standpoint, that's an issue, and from a financial standpoint, that's an issue.
Yeah.
And of course, when our firefighters at nighttime, when they're not making calls, they need to be able to rest. Because we found out one thing, that lack of sleep is a carcinogen in and of itself. So with sleep science, we're really trying to close the gap between what we do and what science knows. And sleep is one of those things. So sleep is not a luxury; it's a weapon, essentially, and it's a tool.
Like that.
It's a tool that we use to improve our performance. And we want our firefighters, once they retire, we want them to be healthy and live long lives and continue to serve the community in other ways. And sleep is just one part of that, along with nutrition and mental health and all that. But anyway, where I was going with that is, with the foot traffic and the noise around current Fire Station 2, with no insulation, or very little, it has some, but it's not adequate. It's noisy.
And then it probably doesn't make sense you don't want to sleep with earplugs in or something, because you need to, the fire alarm, is there an actual loud manual bell that goes off, or is it a beeping thing?
There is. And it's pretty
jarring.
Yeah, because it has to be.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'll sleep right through it. Even firefighters will, because you're tired, you go into your deep modes of sleep and you just sleep right through it if it's not very loud and jarring. But
now I will say that when my husband and I first started dating, he was at Station 2.
Okay.
And that was old Station 2.
I think I was there with him.
Yeah, I think you were. You were like a rookie. And the fire protection program still had classrooms on the second floor. And the firefighters were all concentrated on that first floor. It was a very small area. So they had a little kitchen, and then they had their day room. Or they had the day room, then they had their little kitchen, and then they had one room with a bunch of twin-size beds in it. And I'm going to say that anyone who slept in that room with my husband definitely wore earplugs.
That's funny. We're finding out all sorts of secrets.
Yeah, he snored.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what
Terry
it is.
remembers
he snored.
that.
Well, and Michelle, he's not the only one.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he tried to compete with about 3 other people, and a lot of time he would win.
I believe that. He was a champion. He was a champion.
Luckily now we do have, it's still fairly open, but there are some divisions in between beds, so they have a little bit more privacy, but the snoring is still there.
So Michelle, the next time you need to tell Bob, your sleep is a weapon.
Yeah, that's right.
You're using it against
My sleep is a weapon. That's what you need to say,
Well, that's
Michelle.
what he's telling me now, because he's got a CPAP, so it's all good. He's silent now. Now he complains about my snoring, so there we go. But anyway, enough about snoring.
Yes, okay.
Okay, but back to the bedroom issue. So now that we have, we're accommodating female firefighters as well, is the move toward having little separate sleeping rooms?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, where each firefighter has some privacy, where in the evening time they can unwind and just get on the phone and FaceTime with their family, or just journal, or whatever they need to do to get their mind right and unwind before bed, so they can get some sleep, hopefully. And that's the way modern fire stations are built, is you don't have those large communal areas for the bedrooms. Now you still do for the regular day rooms where they spend time, because we still want our firefighters to talk and to develop relationships, because that's a big part of what they do and what makes them very, very effective, and what makes this job a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a team atmosphere.
The camaraderie is extremely important for lots of reasons.
You can't have people arguing where to point the hose.
No, that usually on a scale of good to bad, that's on the bad side.
Yeah. You have a
that's
command structure
problematic.
that's
We
supposed
do.
to take care of that.
Yes, we do, and it does.
But yeah.
but the bedrooms and the bathrooms are going to be private, and they'll just be in line with modern standards and cutting edge on that side.
And so right now in Station 2, are all those sleeping areas upstairs? Do you guys have to traverse the stairs up and down in order to get there?
Well, the only thing, there's a captain.
What's upstairs?
There's a captain's office upstairs.
Okay.
And there is a workout facility upstairs.
Okay.
And Becky has seen all of this.
I have.
And it's we can do better.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
We can do better. But they do have that up there, and there's no showers. There is a bathroom up there, but believe it or not, we share the second floor with the OSU band department.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, a lot of people are unaware. So
what's the band doing up on the second floor?
Well, they have booths. Supposedly they're soundproof. I don't know if that's 100% true, but they took every precaution they could to keep the sound contained. But students can go up there and check into a sound booth and practice.
Interesting.
And they have their own entrance and their own exit, so they don't go through the fire station per se. But we do share it with the band department.
Okay. All right.
And then there's a third floor that's not even used.
Okay.
That is correct. And keep in mind, when this thing was built, asbestos was a common building material. Now, just what people use, lead paint and all those things are still there.
Right.
And not to mention that the water is safe to drink, but it's filtered many times, and it's not of the best quality.
Now, from what I understand, too, those filters tend to, because of the water that's coming through those old pipes,
Correct.
is that those filters tend to clog up.
They do.
And then all of a sudden there won't be water.
They have to be changed out regularly.
Yes.
And
okay, I have heard that.
Yeah. So
all of a sudden you have no water to take a shower.
Yeah, and that's not good.
Not good.
On so many different levels, because our firefighters live there for 2 days at a time. They work for 48 hours and they're off for 96. So when they're there, they're there. And obviously that means they need to shower and have all the accommodations that their homes have. That is their home.
How many firefighters? What's our staff? How many people?
We have 70, including myself. We have 74.
Okay.
And we have 3 different shifts. They work 48 hours on. They're off for 96. And our minimum staffing is 18. And we have 4 stations that we staff all the time.
So how many people do you have at Station 2 right now per shift?
We have 4 with a minimum of 3.
Okay. Will you staff it up when you move?
We will.
Okay.
So right now it's a one company station, which means they run an engine company, and they also cross personnel a brush truck. Actually, we have 2 brush trucks there. So whichever call comes in first is what they'll take, and the other apparatus will be left unattended. And with our call volume, it works for us. You know, as our population grows, we're going to have to readjust. But right now, it works for us to do that. But with the new station, we're going to have a ladder company, which goes into another good point I need to make in just a second. We'll have an engine company and a ladder company. So, and potentially we'll run our battalion chief out of there as well. They're the shift commander. It's a chief officer, but they still work shift work, and they take care of all 4 stations.
Is that who we usually hear on the radio that's commanding, okay, this truck, hey, like it sounds like, we hear the beeps, and they're like, everybody's going, and then somebody's like, hey, nope, go ahead. They get called back or whatever.
Yes, yeah, yep. They're kind of like an air traffic controller.
Yeah, okay.
And they set up command to make sure that the people on scene have the right resources and make sure that they're safe.
And so I think this is where you're going, but we also got a new big ladder truck.
We do.
And it doesn't fit in station number 2.
It does not fit. And the reason for that is because everybody knows that our streets are narrow, as most streets are narrow. Now, it's not just Stillwater, it's everywhere, every college town. And because the streets are narrow, it makes it hard for long fire trucks to get to where they need to be, whether it's apartments or fraternity houses or sorority houses. So what that means is we re-engineer those to where they are shorter, so where they'll make the sharper turns and we can get them more places. But what that ultimately causes is, we still have to carry the same amount of equipment.
Okay.
for multiple reasons. I mean, our firefighters need that stuff to go to work when they get there, and that has to go somewhere. So these trucks have to be, they may be a little shorter, but which means they get taller.
Oh,
And so
okay.
our current ladder truck, which is OSU branded, and it is a beautiful truck, will not fit at the current station. It's about a foot too tall.
Okay.
So with our new station, when we get it built, we'll make sure it fits there because that's where it belongs.
Okay.
We'll add a couple extra feet in case those fire trucks need to get
Yeah, that's
taller.
right.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, we're going to make sure that we have room to
We
grow.
got some 50
Yes.
years of
Yes.
Room to grow would be
We're
good.
making room
Growth.
to grow. Absolutely.
Okay, so will you have like conference facilities or training facilities or anything out there where, since you're going to have a new location with more space around it?
Yeah. I don't know how common knowledge this is, but Stillwater, a lot of the red books that firefighters all over the country and the world use, they were kind of created here in Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
So our roots in the fire service are a lot deeper than people realize. And we had people, because of fire protection publications and because of IFSTA, they make fire manuals and they kind of lead the country on training resources. They're all here in Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people from all over the world come and visit us to look at these different facilities, and they visit Stillwater Fire Department. And when that happens, we need to have a place where we can bring them and really welcome them in the proper way. And so, and not that we don't have that now, but we can do better. We can do better because we want to move into the next decade and the next century, and we want to continue being a leader in the fire service. And to do that, we have to have the right facilities that kind of paint the picture of who we are and what we stand for. So we will have a training facility in this new, right now it's designed to have a classroom building in it, which of course can be used for conferences, or when I say conference, I mean like a conference room for meetings or to host classes for internal and departments around the state. And
Very cool.
yeah, it'd be very welcoming and very professional.
So does that mean we're not going to see fire trucks parked all over the community center anymore?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah, that's your neighbor, isn't it?
Yes, we see them all the time.
Yeah, so that's the plan.
Well, and as when Block 34 gets redeveloped, there's not gonna be bunch of empty.
No, there won't.
Ideally,
You're
not a
right.
bunch of empty
Yeah.
parking
They
spaces.
They won't want you
to-
parking trucks on Block 34.
They won't.
No.
And we don't want to do that.
Yeah. There's another aspect to this is, if I'm right, also improves our insurance thing, or am I getting something confused?
Our ISO rating, which would affect insurance rates. How
Yeah.
would that impact
All right,
ISO?
all right.
Terry?
Well, we just brought in a specialist yesterday and had a workshop for my command staff. So great timing on the question.
All right.
So currently, just kind of paint a picture of where we are now. I got to lean into the mic. So we are currently rated at a 2.
Which is
And
pretty good.
It's really
to be
good.
honest.
It's
I mean,
really
that's pretty
good.
great.
It's really, and we're not just a 2, but we're a solid 2. We could go to a 1, which is the best, but a lot of departments that are 1, also they're 1/9. Okay, and what that means is part of their community, they have great fire protection, but on the outskirts, it's a 9. You're going from 1 to 9. There's 8 digits there. There's a lot of room to move, right?
So they can cover more of the internal, but it's hard to get
yeah,
out. to
so
the-
they're a 1/9. Well,
Okay.
we're
Okay.
a 2 all the way through.
Okay.
Alright.
So to me, I know we don't have the 1 there, but a solid 2 to me is better than a 1/9.
Right.
Especially if you live in the 9 area.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then as the community grows, if you have places that you can't get to as well, then could that drop our ISO if we don't have everything positioned correctly?
Yeah, it could. It could. And that is why we're going to have the plan for the east side of town.
Okay.
And to make sure that does not drop.
Okay.
Of course, when I say we're a 2, and I'm proud of that because I don't think that we really emphasize that enough, because that's a big deal.
When we went from a 3 to a 2, that was a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah, because really what that equates to, and this depends on your insurance carrier, that's a 4 to 8% drop in premiums. Okay. 8% would be the max, but probably on the conservative side, that's 4%.
Yeah.
Which-
ISO is what? Insurance service offices?
Correct.
Something like that.
Yes.
And it's basically a measure of your fire safety, right?
Yes.
Of the degree of protection that you
Yeah,
have.
it's solely is framed around response to structure fires, nothing else. And it's a national standard, and it's just how everybody is rated against everyone else. Obviously, the lower number, the better. And when I say I'm proud that we are a 2, and I am proud, but we always want to be a 1, and we're never going to stop trying to get better.
Do they measure those response times after the fact? So there's the okay, we know we're within this range of 4, but the insurance companies, I'm guessing, are they going back and looking at fire logs or something, getting that hard data?
Yes. So the ISO, Insurance Services Office, they're a data mining company.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they're a for-profit company. They take that data and they sell it. Now, where it goes, I don't know, but we use it on our side to measure how we stand up against everybody else.
Okay.
So obviously, it's very very productive for us. So we know the lower the number, the more capable we are of mitigating structure fires and emergencies in general.
Now, ISO also factors in things like your equipment and your training and lots of other stuff, right?
They do. Yeah. So data. So we will go back into our software and look at all of our response times, all of our training hours, all of our equipment, and we'll work with our GIS folks at City Hall, and we'll map out our 1.5 mile and 2.5 mile radiuses, and we'll look at all of our larger structures and see how close they are to our fire stations. So it's a very in-depth process, and it's lengthy, but obviously the rewards are large.
So we've had a lot of grass fires recently.
Yes, we have.
You guys have been busy with that. And that doesn't seem to affect the rating. So if you guys go out there and you have to spend some time, that's not affecting the insurance, but that still is going to affect coverage elsewhere. If you guys have, just outside of town, you have a grass fire on the west side and grass fire on the east side.
Yes.
That really kind of opens us up to minimal coverage for other areas, right?
It does. And we're really coming to play if we have all of our crews working a grass fire and then we have a structure fire within our response district. And ISO doesn't care if it's in the city limits or outside the city limits.
Okay.
They just don't care.
Sure.
And nor do we. We're not going to treat if a structure fire or a grass fire, or any emergency for that matter, any different regarding where it is. It doesn't matter. We're going to give the same effort and the same resources.
You're not looking to see if they paid for the fire thing. That's always after the fact.
Yeah, that never crosses our mind. We want to make sure that we give everyone, regardless of where they are, the same quality of response.
So, Terry, this would maybe be a good time to talk about that rural fire subscription, though, what Chris was talking about, the bill, because it doesn't impact, if you live outside the city limits, it doesn't determine whether the fire department's going to respond, but what it does determine is whether you'll be billed and how much you'll be billed.
Yes.
So let's talk about that rural fire subscription.
Yeah, so what it is...
It's not bond related, but
no,
I think it's interesting.
No, it's not, but it's very much... It kind of is, because there's been some talk about, well, why should the citizens that live in the city limits be the only ones carrying the burden for this new fire station? I think that's a good question.
It is.
And our response to that is the rural fire subscription, which is $100. It's not prorated. It's depending on when you get it. If you get it the first day of the year, the last day of the year, it's still $100. But what it does, though, is if you live within our response district, not the city limits, but within our rural response district, and you have a fire or a rescue type situation where we have to send a rescue, you will still be billed, and we have a $500 minimum charge to help recover some of the costs. Again, it's recovery. We're not in the business of making money. We're definitely not for profit. We're just trying to recover our costs so we can continue providing services for people. But you have a cap of $2,000.
Okay.
And recently we had a grass fire with a citizen that did not have this subscription, and their bill is over $6,000.
So everyone go online to the city website if you live outside city limits and get that rural contract.
Well, and I remember the discussion at city council about the cap on the charge if you have a subscription, and that was based on what was presented to the councilors as the average amount that most homeowners policies will cover. So basically, it's it's enough to cover some of the costs, but to basically protect you from having a lot of out of pocket.
Yes.
And you can't really deny services like, my property's on fire, just let it burn, I don't want to pay that bill. You guys are still going to come in there and do that
still,
no matter what.
We still have an obligation.
Because there's neighbors.
Take care of. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
there's other people.
Okay, so I feel obligated to bring this up since we started talking about taxes and who's supporting this, and let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla. Okay, so Oklahoma State University, all of its property is not on the tax rolls, and Station 2 provides a very significant amount of protection to OSU. That is one of its big responsibilities. You have it's a very densely populated area.
It is.
You have a lot of communal housing there, and
and that's why we have the ladder truck, right?
Right.
Part of it. Yeah. That's not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons. Sure.
Okay.
Sure, and we've got the other apartment complexes around there in that high-rise district. And okay, so how does OSU help out in this scenario? What is OSU's contribution to this?
The land, the donation of the land is a big one.
Now, are they signing it over?
They are not signing it over. It's leased. It's an option for I think it's a 50-year lease with an option to add 25 years twice for $1 a year.
So up to 100 years.
Yep. I mean, and we could go further from that. I'm sure in 100 years for those that are making those decisions, they can do that. I mean, but I think just that alone, and there's many other ways that the partnership benefits both parties, but just that the land and then us building a building, the city's building that would own the building on this land, it just speaks to the continued partnership. I mean, OSU and the city rely on one another. I mean, they go together, and it's a strong partnership. So this is another way that it shows that.
Okay, and you said OSU participated in the purchase of the ladder truck.
They did. They donated $250,000 to help go towards that truck.
Okay,
and so it was an effort between Payne County, of course, the city of Stillwater, and OSU.
Okay, so basically all the entities that stand to benefit from this.
And I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but going back into the 50s, with our very first ladder trucks, OSU has always participated. And when I say participated, they've always contributed to the price of those vehicles historically, and not just this time.
Okay. Okay, so they've helped out on other equipment.
Yeah, multiple times.
Okay.
And then when we're talking about, entities that don't pay property taxes, I mean, there's plenty of others. So churches and stuff like nonprofits that don't, but they're also getting the benefit. So if your argument is OSU should pay or something, then you could maybe make the argument that a bunch of other county buildings and all this stuff should pay too. So it's kind of just like, it's part of, to me, is the community. This is what we pay for because we obviously need all these non-tax paying entities.
Yeah, they have a lot of value. They offer a lot of value to our community.
Well, I would say this is a situation you run into when you're the county seat, when you're sort of a regional hub, because there's going to be a lot of government buildings. And there's going to be a lot of kind of nonprofits or service-oriented things located in your town, and a lot of those aren't going to be on the tax roll.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, right?
It is. And I think that's also, I mean, we haven't been successful in passing bonds, and I think that plays a role in it. And we just want to make sure that everyone knows that we want to invest in our community, and it's going to take all of us to do that, all the different entities, those that pay the taxes and those that don't. So we all have to work together to make sure our community is one that we all want to live in.
Okay. Is that also why things like the transportation sales tax that just passed spread it out more? Or seen as more?
Exactly. I mean, the sales
way to
tax,
do it anyway?
We went that route for this very discussion, thinking of who should burden the cost of transportation projects. Well, those that use our roads. And so that would be, since we are a regional hub and since we do have all of the services, we just thought that was the best way to fund that specific project. But when it comes to a fire station, it was just a different strategy.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I think to speak to OSU too, even though they may not be paying, they're on the tax rolls, there's a lot of ways that they are contributing indirectly. One of those ways is people. I think these conversations are great. Maybe we should schedule this more often so people can really see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Is we have 5 or 6 interns that from OSU And I mean, these folks are working for pretty much, I mean, they're working for minimum wage, but they are producing results that are astounding because they are hungry. And it's not just they're benefiting us, helping build the resume, but the citizens of Stillwater are benefiting because they're doing things in the city that are helping make us all safer. And I don't think a lot of people realize the contribution that they make there.
That would be a cool news story, Terry.
I think so.
We should probably do something about your intern program.
They are amazing. They're worth their weight in gold. They really are. And to build on that is we work with the students every chance we get. Of course, they have research projects that they need to do. And again, we're really trying to close the gap between our what we do as firefighters and what science knows. So we have students doing sleep studies for us. We have students doing carcinogen exposure studies, which, they're getting a grade for that, and it's helping them, but it's also helping us. It's helping us live longer. So I think we're winning that one. We're both winning, but we're getting the best of it.
Well, and how much would it cost to pay a consulting firm to come in
Probably
and do
a
that
lot.
study for you?
It would, we couldn't afford to do
Probably
it
a
if
lot.
we had to pay it.
Yeah.
But we're getting those things for free because of our relationship with the university.
So it's a tremendous resource.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and also, I mean, we've been in their building since 1938.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a huge gift to our city as well. The fact that the history of Fire Station number 2 has been because of OSU and that generous.
And I know
use
you
of the
guys
building.
probably can't speak to what OSU's going to do. Oh, maybe you can.
No, I was
Oh.
going to say, great point. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you brought that up.
Well, but we
No,
do.
I can't.
What I feel like we do know. So we don't know what their plans are going to be for the building, but we do know the building's not going away.
Yeah, and that's a great point, and one that we've been asked a lot by a lot of different people. Oh, but we love that building. We don't want to see it go away.
Yeah.
It will not go
And
away. It cannot
can't.
go away.
It's on the National Historic
Yes,
Registry.
you're right.
It's
Right.
protected.
Yes.
So it'll still be there and looks the same. It just different purpose and probably inside updated, I would assume. I mean,
I
but
would
it goes
assume- I
back to
would
OSU.
vote. So
What would
whoever at
you like?
OSU is listening, it seems like, so I learned of the history of fire protection services and stuff like that here from just being downtown where the original fire station was. And there's a historic marker there. Unfortunately, it's next to a empty lot.
A vacant lot.
But it seems like a fire museum would be most appropriate.
You're right on. I would love that.
I mean,
would love that.
especially with, the fire protection school being sort of legendary. IFSTA, which is known around the world, provides fire training, materials.
Yes.
And I'm
For-
sure all those merchants and stuff right there would not mind having a museum that's going to
the
attract
foot traffic.
people.
Yeah,
Be cool.
it'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be a great use of that
You
building.
guys can send
We
me
should-
$1 when you make that happen.
Okay. Chris gets credit.
You've heard it here first.
Kidding.
Exactly.
That's not what I do.
So what else? What have we missed? What else would you like to get out there? What do you think needs to be discussed that we haven't talked about?
Becky, what are we missing here?
Well, if
See-
you
let
would
me-
like to see the fire station, I mean, this is a great opportunity to take a look at Fire Station number 2. If you drive by it a lot or eat at Hideaway and you've always wondered what does it look like inside, please stop by. We have a few tours scheduled. If you stop by at any time, I mean, if they're not fighting a fire, most likely there'll be someone there. But there are 3 more scheduled. So the next one, Tuesday, March 29th at 4. Thursday, March 31st at 7:30 in the morning, and Monday, April 4th, which is the day before the election, at noon.
Yes.
And your fire chief will be there. I'll be there, and we'll show you around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right.
If-
Cool.
If those times don't work for you, reach out to us and we'll find something that does.
Okay.
All right. Maybe Chief Essary will put the Sparky outfit on.
Oh, or maybe
No.
he'll make someone else.
Oh, wait. We don't know who Sparky is. Sorry.
No, we
know.
don't.
Yeah.
No.
I think
Well, it's
Sparky
Sp- it's
will
Sparky.
just show up.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sparky just
Sparky,
does
Sparky.
what Sparky. Yeah,
All
he
right.
just shows up.
Thank you guys so much for coming on. And everybody, don't forget to vote April 5th.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please vote April 5th. We'd love to see a great turnout just like we did on February 8th.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for coming in.
Thanks again to WorkIT for sponsoring this series. For more information about Studio Stillwater and how you can help support our mission as a listener or sponsor, go to studiostillwater.net. There you can sign up for emails, get a free sticker, or send us a message. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.